Hey everyone, today we're going to pull on a thread that's woven deep into the fabric of the modern workplace, the idea that a truly great employee is just a constant source of positive energy. But what if the actual data tells a totally different, and frankly, a much more interesting story? Okay, let's get into it. So here's our roadmap. First, we'll break down what we're calling the good vibes myth. Then, we're going to hit you with a really surprising number from the data. From there, we'll dig into why different mindsets value completely different things, see how that can predict wildly different outcomes in a company, and finally, we'll land on a smarter way to think about talent, one that goes way beyond just performative positivity. All right, first up, the good vibes myth. You know this one. It's an idea that's so common, so baked into how we hire and promote, that we almost never even think to question it. Just think about it for a second. When you're in an interview or you're thinking about who on your team is a real star, what's that one thing you're told to look for, beyond all the skills on their resume? Yep, that's the one. Positive attitude and energy. It's become this catch-all phrase, right? It's a stand-in for being a good teammate, for having a great work ethic, for everything. But here's the big question. What if this gut feeling we all trust is actually filtering out some of our most capable, most innovative thinkers? And that leads us straight into our second section, because this is where we stop relying on gut feelings and start looking at the cold, hard data. And trust me, it throws a real wrench in that whole good vibes theory. Okay, so this number you see on the screen, negative 0.1138. This little number is the key to this entire explainer. It represents what's called a negative correlation. And the question we have to ask is, a correlation between what and what? So here's what it means. This data, pulled from hundreds of people across dozens of countries, shows something fascinating. The more someone thinks in what we call a yellow value system, which is all about seeing the big picture, connecting complex ideas, and thinking in systems, the less they believe that positive energy has anything to do with actual talent. For them, the two things just aren't connected. Which, of course, begs the question, why on earth would that be? And that brings us to section 3. To get that why, we need a framework. And for that, we're going to use a model called spiral dynamics. It's a way of understanding how different worldviews, different stages of thinking, cause people and organizations to value completely different things. Just take a look at this breakdown. A blue mindset, which is all about order and rules, hires for loyalty. An orange mindset, the classic go-getter, is looking for ambition and a focus on results. A green mindset, which values community, is looking for empathy. And then you get to yellow, and what do they care about? Competence, the raw ability to understand and work within complex systems. See how positive energy kind of falls off the map there? And this slide right here puts it in stark contrast. On the one hand, you've got the purple stage, which is very focused on the safety and harmony of the tribe. For them, positive energy is a huge plus. It signals that you belong, that you're one of us. But for the yellow stage, we see that negative correlation pop right back up. The exact same trait is viewed in completely opposite ways depending on the lens you're looking through. This quote from the source material just nails it. The yellow mindset isn't against people being happy, not at all. It just sees outward enthusiasm as, well, as noise. It's a surface signal that doesn't tell you anything about competence. For solving really tough problems, what matters is how the gears of the system turn, not how loudly or cheerfully they hum. So, okay, this is all fascinating theory, but how does it actually play out in a real company? Well, in section 4, we're going to see that this isn't just philosophy. Understanding these value systems can actually help us predict how different teams will react to the very same decisions from leadership. This right here is the guiding principle. Same action, opposite results. Because teams operate from these different value codes, a single management decision, a new policy, a change in strategy can be seen as brilliant by one team and as a complete disaster by another. So how does the prediction work in theory? Well, it's a 3-step process. First, you identify the dominant psychological profile of a team. Then, you input a proposed action, like a new company policy. The model then crunches that action against a whole database of correlations to predict the likely emotional and psychological outcome, things like a drop in trust or a spike in motivation. Let's use a real example to make it concrete. The action is send staff on unpaid vacation. Now, a purple dominant team, that tribal mindset, might actually see this positively, as a shared sacrifice for the group. A green dominant team might also see it positively, but for a different reason. They see it as a way to save everyone's job. But an orange team, focused on efficiency and individual achievement, they're going to hate it. It's a roadblock.
Same action, 3 completely different reactions.
Okay, so that brings us to our final section. We've seen the data, we've explored the why, so what do we actually do with all this? It's about building a much more sophisticated toolkit for how we think about talent. Let's be crystal clear here. The takeaway is not to go out and hire a bunch of downers. Of course not. The goal is to stop using a vague feeling like positive energy as a lazy shortcut, a proxy for things that we should be measuring more rigorously, like actual competence, adaptability, and a true fit with what the system needs to thrive. Now, it is really important to see this from all sides. A heavy focus on that yellow perspective isn't a perfect solution. It comes with its own risks. It can lead to a kind of intellectual elitism. It can totally dismiss the very real and powerful value of optimism, and it can create cultures that are just unnecessarily heavy and serious. It's a different lens, not a perfect one. And we're already seeing this shift happen out in the real world. A few years back, Facebook famously moved away from those vague culture fit interviews. Why? Because they wanted evidence. They started requiring interviewers to show how a candidate lined up with concrete values, like autonomy, instead of just saying they had a great vibe. So we'll leave you with this one final question to take back to your own workplace. Is your company's focus on positive energy really helping you find the best talent? Or is it possible that it's become a comfortable cultural filter, one that might be accidentally weeding out the very systems thinkers you need to solve your biggest, most complex problems? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.